Now, Brad, China has launched a reusable space plane. Now, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting one because it's quite secretive. They didn't announce exactly what the nature of the project is, but based on estimates of what was launched and where it's gone, it appears to be something like a small space shuttle, if you want to imagine. So a lot smaller than how the space shuttle was, but more importantly, it doesn't have humans in it. And it's very similar, we think, to what we call the X-37B. This is a Boeing-built US plane that, again, it doesn't take people, but it can go into space. It can stay in orbit in space like a satellite, but it can be controlled remotely like a drone, so it can land and be reused like the space shuttle. So it has this weird combination of being an activity like a satellite, a platform for putting things in space, but landing to be reused. And now the US is one we've known can stay up there for literally years in orbit, landing safely and then being relaunched. So China's been quite tight-lipped on exactly what they're doing. We believe that there was a test a few years ago that only spent about 3 days. How long this one stays in orbit, we're not quite sure, but obviously groups like the US are paying close attention.
Yes, no doubt. And also, South Korea has launched its first mission to the moon. Take us through that mission, but also where does South Korea sit in terms of this space race?
Yeah, South Korea has had a space program for a long time. The two things they really haven't done a lot of are their own rockets to take things into space and activity around the moon, like lots of people are doing. And so their orbiter went on a SpaceX rocket to the moon. And so the idea is essentially for this orbiter to go around the moon, do a number of scientific and research experiments, and also do like a lot of things, not just do the research and science, but test the technology. Because what South Korea wants to do is land a rover and probe on the moon by the end of this decade. And so this is where we're seeing space happen. So many new countries are coming onto kind of the moon scene, so to speak. Yes, the US is leading a big group, which Australia is a part of. And we see obviously activity from Russia and China. India's landed on the moon. Israel landed a private probe on the moon a few years ago. And we're seeing so many new countries participate. New Zealand launched a mission to the moon for NASA a month and a half ago. So we're seeing lots of new countries enter the moon race. And what we're seeing is them obviously outline what they want to do, develop that satellite that goes in orbit around the moon first, once you get that to work, and then land on the moon. And so it's very easy to think that in a few years' time, we'll have multiple countries launching multiple missions to the moon, including then landing on the moon. And this is coming off the heels of the announcement that the US's Artemis mission is going to be launching on the 29th. So the moon is really becoming forefront of activity, again, not just for the Americans, but lots of different countries. And so it's a really exciting and a very different moon race than what we had in the 60s and 70s.
Well, every country wants to be part of that space race.
That's right.
Who will be successful? We'll find out.
We'll see.
Brad Tucker, great to speak with you. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.